ni sabo mi ni abako to ye dey sure say aban also no jina no senebe.
Later on CNR Extra, Ghana Health Service launches 7th National COVID-19 Vaccination Days and aims to immunize 1 million people.
Almost 70% or a little over 60% of the population are unvaccinated, isn't it? But the vaccine, COVID, even though we are not vaccinating children,
Once again, you're welcome to CNR Extra here on CTTV. You can join us with your thoughts, submissions, and comment by WhatsApp line 0204447033, and also you can join us on YouTube as we stream the live on CityTube. Jude Mensah Dankania, welcome to the show. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm very well and very happy. I mean, it's always a pleasure to be here, Philip.
Let's bring you the first story, and the Asin North Member of Parliament, that is a trial, has commenced on July 18 after weeks of resistance by lawyers of the MP. Let's bring you that insert.
The day-to-day trial of the Asin North Member of Parliament commenced today after weeks of resistance by lawyers of the legislator. His lawyers, however, have applications pending at the Court of Appeal and Supreme Court to revert the decision to hear the matter on day-to-day basis. There is more in the following report.
The trial of Asin North MP James Jachikwesin continued on Tuesday with cross-examination of the first witness of prosecution after weeks of attempts by lawyers of the accused to stay proceedings. Lawyers for the NDC legislator have filed proceedings at the Court of Appeal over a decision of the trial judge not to stay proceedings pending an appeal on the decision to hear the matter on a day-to-day basis. They have also invoked the supervisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to quash the June 16 decision to hear the matter on day-to-day basis. But when the case was called on Tuesday, Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame indicated that none of the applications filed act as a stay of proceedings nor compel the court not to continue with the hearing of the matter. Counsel for the accused, Chachu Chikata, then continued with cross-examination of prosecution first witness. During cross-examination, Chachu Chikata posed questions to the fact that the accused was cleared by the Electoral Commission to contest the 2020 polls despite a complaint before the Commission on the accused holding allegiance to another country other than Ghana. But the witness, Richard Techimensa, explained that to the best of his knowledge, the decision of the Commission was based on information put before it by the accused. As usual, the hearing saw representation from some minority MPs in Parliament as part of their solidarity to the Asin North Member of Parliament. After proceedings, Head of Legal Affairs for the NDC, Abraham Amaleba, spoke to the media.
The prosecution's witness was in 6th and 7th. In fact, he swore an oath that his statement was written in English. It turned out that when he was shown his own statement, he spoke in Chi and it was recorded. That goes to the credibility of the witness. That goes to his mindset. So clearly, today, you notice that the prosecution's witness was not helpful to the prosecution at all. And even when he said that he had attached documents to his complaint to the police, one of the documents he said he attached was a statutory declaration of Jachikwesin. It turned out that there was no attachment of that sort. So clearly, the interpretation is that today, the prosecution's own witness statement has been thrown to the dustbin because he couldn't even indicate that that was his own statement. He spoke in English. It turned out that he rather spoke in Chi, and it was transcribed into English.
So the update of this story is that the Court of Appeal has struck out James Jachikwesin's application for stay of proceedings of his trial at the High Court. You cross over to my colleague, who is our court correspondent here at CTFM CTTV, Hansen Ajiman, to bring us up to speed what is happening in the court now. Hansen, what transpired in court today?
So the application for stay of proceedings at the Court of Appeal was moved. But before that, Chachi Chikata indicated that he received the state's affidavit in opposition to the application yesterday, and subsequent to that, he will want to file a supplementary affidavit to make some more points and clarify some issues he described as misleading in the affidavit in opposition that was presented by the state. But the Attorney General Godfrey Yeboah-Dame argued that the proceedings for which the Chachi Chikata seeks to rely on in filing these supplementary affidavits have been available for weeks now, and if indeed he wanted to include that in his application, he would have done so from the onset. The court decided that the affidavit in opposition by the state did not raise any new matters for which a supplementary affidavit is needed. And so Chachi Chikata was then made to move his application. He first made the argument that if you look at proceedings at the High Court, in his view, they've been tainted by events which are affecting the fair trial of his client, that's James Jachikwesin. The first point he makes is that during cross-examination, they noted that in the witness statement of the first prosecution witness and in some statements that he has made to the police, he indicated that he has attached some documents, particularly some statutory declarations by James Jachikwesin in a run-up to the 2020 general election. However, those documents have not been presented to them as part of disclosures. Now, if you look at criminal trial in this country, the state is mandated to make available to the prosecution all materials and documents that they will be relying on or at their disposal for the purpose of that particular trial. And they are saying that since the witness indicated that he had that particular document and he is going to make it available and has not made it available, the state should hand over that to them. And so that particular request for that application was for further disclosures by the state was dismissed by the court, by the High Court. And in the view of Chachi Chikata, that in itself amounts to a breach of fair trial rules as determined by Article 19 of the 1992 Constitution. He also indicates that if you look at the arguments that they've been making about some alleged prejudicial comments by Attorney General Godfrey Yeboah-Dame and also by President Akufo-Addo during a rally at the Synod on the Sunday to the June 27 by elections. Now, all these prejudicial comments, one by the Attorney General, two by the President and by some ministers, one way or the other, in his view, influenced the judge. And so the proceedings at the High Court have been tainted by these activities. And they are therefore praising the court to halt proceedings, arguing that these amount to exceptional circumstances to warrant a stay of proceedings pending an application at the Court of Appeal for the question of the decision of the court to hear the matter on day-to-day basis. The Attorney General Godfrey Yeboah-Dame actually disagreed with this point, and he made the argument that if you look at these alleged prejudicial statements which he disagrees with, most of them that they refer to, particularly that of the president and that of some ministers allegedly, were made after the ruling or the decision by the court to hear the matter on day-to-day basis. Now, the court gave the decision, or the court gave the decision to hear the matter on day-to-day basis on June 23. The president made the point on June 25, and so for the state led by the Attorney General Godfrey Yopardami, if for nothing at all, a comment that was made on June 25 cannot be said to have had any effect on a comment that was on a decision that was taken 2 days earlier. That was June 23. Godfrey Yopardami further went on to argue that he actually has not made any prejudicial comment as far as this criminal matter is concerned. He indicated that the only comment he has made with respect to this case has had to do with an injunction application in a civil matter during the time the Supreme Court was hearing the Supreme Court's original jurisdiction to interpret the Constitution, which later led to declaring the seat, declaring the seat vacant by the Speaker of Parliament. That was when he made comments with respect to the Jachikwe case, and so he has not in any way made any prejudicial comment. He also even accused lawyers of Jachikwe that this application is only a way for them to avoid trial, and he made reference to some of the points that were made in their affidavit that it's basically employed by Jachikwe.
So,
trial.
with this, we know that the minority has stated categorically that any time its member has to be in court, they will definitely boycott activities in Parliament to be there. Did you see any member of the minority there today?
Well, we just saw just the legal team for James Jachikwe, but certainly the minority have indicated cases that have been instituted by the state. This application is an act of their own lawyers, and so it may be understandable why they were absent from the Court of Appeal this morning, but they were not here.
So you spoke to the legal team, I guess?
Yes, we spoke to the legal team, Abraham Amaliba. He said he are disappointed at the decision of the court, but they still have applications pending at the Court of Appeal, which is for the Court of Appeal to revert the decision of the High Court to hear the matter on day-to-day basis. They've also invoked the supervisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, which essentially is to say that the Supreme Court should take a look at how the High Court is undertaking its proceedings, and that there may be some issues with respect to how they are going about it as far as the law is concerned. And this is with respect to a decision on June 16th for some further disclosures with respect to that particular document I've earlier touched on, which the witness indicated he had and had attached to his witness statement, but has not been presented in court.
Thank you so much, Hansen. Hansen Ajiman is our correspondent at court, and he's my colleague in the newsroom reporting live from the court. And the update is that the Court of Appeal has struck out James Jachikwe's application for stay of proceeding of his trial at the High Court. Jude,
I mean,
this is where we are.
Yeah, you can understand why he would want a stay of proceedings at the High Court. And I mean, it's for some other people, they've raised concerns about the seemingly excessive interest of government in this particular case. And some other people, including members of parliament, like Honorable Samuel Kujeto Ablako, have had cause to say this is a clear case of political witch hunting. And I mean, the debates will go on. For whichever side you belong to, you are likely to believe it's in the interest of the state with regards to the charges brought against him, that's perjury and forgery. And if you are a member of the NDC, or you believe that the case to start it was unnecessary in the first place, then you are likely to tend towards the fact that this is political witch hunt. Hansen has explained into details what transpired at the court. My concern has got to do with the boycotts, the continuous boycotts.
We will talk about the boycott, and the majority, they have jabbed the minority for this continuous boycott. Let's bring you that insight.
We start off from the House of Legislature, where the majority in Parliament has jabbed the minority caucus over the continuous boycott of business activities in the chamber. The majority side says although the National Democratic Congress NDC legislators have for the fourth time abandoned business activities in the chamber over the prosecution of some of their colleagues, the minority has chosen to partake in committee meetings in Parliament. Speaking to journalists, the majority chief whip, Frank Anodompre, said the minority only engaged in such misconduct to deceive the public. City News' Ni Ayikwen Okine reports.
The minority in Parliament on Tuesday boycotted for the fourth time was expected at the court. Speaking to journalists in Parliament, the majority chief whip Frank Anodompre took a swipe at the minority over their involvement in committee meetings, although they boycotted business activities in the chamber.
Your side is empty. You are saying that you are boycotting Parliament. The substance of my case here is that you said, nobody told you to say that. Out of your own volition, Tuforson said, we are going to boycott Parliament. Is committee meetings not part of Parliament? Is it not? It is. Yes, it is. So who are you deceiving? Tuforson should come clear on this matter. I think that they should bury their head down in shame. It's a very unpopular decision by the leadership. I know their side is divided about it. Yes, they are divided about it. So if you want to boycott Parliament in its entirety. Don't pick and choose. You go for committee meetings and yet you say that you won't come to the chamber. At the end of the day, okay, all the deliberations, whether it's a referral by the speaker, it's a bill, some agreement that are being considered at the committee, it will eventually be ferried to.
So the minority is not bothered at all about what the majority is saying. A member of the minority, that is the MP for Ningo Prampram, someone Nete George, he says that the minority caucus is not bothered about losing a seat in Parliament following the continuous boycott of business activities in the chamber. Yesterday, the speaker of, the majority raised concerns about it, saying he was spoken to on Eyewitness News. And he says that if the speaker wants to end his term successfully, then he should consider their seat vacant. But I think you were raising questions about this particular issue that the minorities continuous boycott in Parliament. Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Dramani, he has also raised questions that Ghanaians will end up being
will be the ones to feel,
to bear the brunt of this particular continuous boycott in Parliament.
I mean, Philip, I was saying that if you go back to Dr. Kisela Tuforson's reasons for the boycott, among other things, he mentioned that certain prejudicial comments from no other person than the president during the campaign in CNR, to an extent, was they felt that it could have an impact on the final outcome or the final judgment. And I mean, they had to take a stance because they believe very strongly that this is a clear case of political witch hunting. But I mean, the argument put across by Member of Parliament for Nsawam Adodri, Frank Anodompre, I mean, when he says that if you decide to boycott Parliament, then do it in its entirety, right? You can't pick and choose which days you boycott Parliament. But I mean, the minority were clear when they said that on this, Mr. Jackie Kwesi was
and other members of the S.
Kesel is also part of the people they are representing. So, I mean, he was clear that on this they have court appearances. But I mean, to not come to the chamber, right, for whatever reasons, which probably includes camera reasons, right? I mean, so people would see that boycotted, but still attend committee meetings for whatever reasons is to an extent appears as a lack of principle, right? So those are the arguments that have been put across. Whether or not it depends on where you stand in all of this, but I think that to a very large extent, it's taken away from our democratic practice, right? Because I believe there are very important things that during the period would have had to be discussed in Parliament. For which reason, there was no quorum formed and Parliament couldn't delve into the issue. So I don't think it's healthy for our democracy. And I believe very strongly that if the minority believe that their members are very clean on this, I think they should allow for the processes of the courts to work. They should allow for the rule of law to work. I mean, subject yourself to the processes of the courts, right? And if you believe you are as clean and transparent as you want the whole of the country to believe, time will tell. I mean, I think it's very unfair, even to the judiciary, to try and create the picture that it is already compromised before. In the past, we had former President Mahama on other occasions have cause to complain about how our judiciary is losing credibility. I think appointment committee and hearings, right? When she was vetted by the appointment committee, and the kind of comments we heard from certain people within the minority, I think they should trust in this new face leadership we have with the judiciary. Let's go through the process. No need to boycott parliament. Still go and represent. In any case, you are a member of parliament for a respective constituency and not for Asin North, who you are arguing for.
Parliament in solidarity of their members. They go there to.
I mean, there are other ways.
You are in court. So
there are other ways. There are other ways you can vent your spleen or your displeasure at an issue rather than just total boycott, right? Because at the end of the day, your very constituents will also suffer for it. So I think maybe the minority would have to relook at it again. And I think we got here mainly because certain comments were passed that to an extent appeared to people of the minority and their followers that they were not going to have a fair trial. For each reason, they also had to take a decision like that. So whilst condemning the actions of the minority because of the belief that it's taken away from our democracy, I think certain prejudicial comments that were also passed would have to be, I think, maybe retracted because it's led to where we are as right now.
So let's see what the minority's decision will be following this particular comment from the majority and also whether they will rescind their decision. Away from this story, former Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Inusa Fuseni, he has raised alarm over the state agency's arrangement with private entity to protect state lands.
Between state agencies and a private entity to protect state lands. The arrangement came to light during a parliamentary committee sitting, revealing that Clement Jatu and his company, Inoc Holdings, were contracted to safeguard certain state lands. This report delves into the details of this issue.
Ghana has long been grappling with the issue of land guards, individuals accused of terrorizing landowners through physical assaults and even fatalities. In response, Parliament enacted the Vigilantism and Related Offences Act, Act 990 in 2019, aiming to curb this menace. However, despite legislative efforts, land guard activities continue to persist. During a recent sitting in Parliament's Lands and Forestry Committee, the Chief Director of the Lands Ministry revealed a surprising revelation. State agencies, including the Ministry, police and military, have allegedly engaged Clement Jatu and Inoc Holdings to reclaim and protect state lands. The deputy ranking member on the Lands and Forestry Committee, Alassane Sohini, reiterated the committee's findings in an interview with City News.
We were at a committee meeting where the Land Commission was to brief the committee on a number of things. One of it had to do with the operations of a gentleman known as Jatu. And at the meeting, the chief director of the ministry, who represented the minister, disclosed that the said Jatu was a gentleman that the ministry had an arrangement government encroach land, and in return, government sits with him to determine the cost incurred and sometimes compensate him with parcels of land from the whole that he has been able to retrieve. In fact, he disclosed that in some cases he's awarded about 50 acres of land, like in the Adenta area where he helped them to retrieve land. He also made the point that the gentleman was set up by the government because usually when government agencies go reclaiming encroached land, there is public outcry. And he has his own security that he usually will deploy on the land. In fact, he disclosed to the committee that in one instance, there was exchange of gunfire between the security of this gentleman and some other encroachers, leading to the death of about 3 people. But the chief director boasted that this didn't even become a national discussion because the gentleman had his media on the ground who helped for the matter to be covered up. We thought this was scandalous, and we thought there was a need for us to get to the bottom of it. In fact, he was queried as to why the ministry will not depend on the police and the military for such an exercise if need be. And that is where he made the point that even the police and the military depend on this gentleman.
Both the police and military have vehemently denied any involvement with Clemens Jato and Inoc Holdings refuting any association with Landguard activities. The Lands Ministry, on the other hand, acknowledges engaging Inoc Holdings in land reclamation efforts since 2012, but denies any use of land guards in the process. However, former Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Inusa Fuseni, has expressed reservations about the arrangement. He believes that state lands should be protected through legal means rather than relying on a private entity.
Nobody has title to government lands except government. Government lands are protected by the law. So if you are sitting on government land, you are an encroacher. At any time that government wants the land, it will pack you off. How do you protect the land? The land itself is protected by law. So how do you
remove encroachers?
So if you are going to remove encroachers, encroaching there is an offense.
Yes.
So you go to court, okay, and take an order and get bailiffs. If the bailiffs cannot remove the encroachers by themselves, they seek the assistance of the police. In the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, from January 2013 to July 2014, I, Inusa Fuseni, never signed a contract for the protection of government land by anybody.
After that,
maybe so my period probably was a hiatus because he said he was in 2012. In 2013, I mean, my understanding of the law and the practice of the law in relation to land is that government land.
So Inusa Fuseni, he believes that the right thing must be done, the right process must be followed to reclaim government's lands, and that the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources denied what the Chief Director said, or said that, well, we've engaged the annual holdings, but then we've not engaged them with this land guardism issue. And also the Ghana Armed Forces rejected or denied this claim. The Ghana Police Service has denied these claims. But my issue is, if in our own small settings, in the municipalities, in the districts, we are saying that landguardism should be a thing of the past, then why are we talking about it that government is engaging these people, and it has now come out clear that they are denying? Can the right process be followed?
I mean, Philip, this story confuses me a lot,
yeah,
right?
Very.
Because I'm struggling to, the only highlight or the only good thing I would say is that when this issue broke out, or when the minority from the Lands and Natural Resources Committee of Parliament came out with this allegation purported to have been said by the Chief Director of the Lands Ministry, who is no mean person than a professor. So I'm sure he'll know what to say when he meets members of Parliament, right? And I mean, Professor Patrick Agbensinyale, I hope I got the name correct. I mean, Philip, it confuses me because of, number one, certain comments that have been said in defense of this. So we saw that 4-point statement from the police. I've read the military's response to it as well. My only concern is really to establish the relationship between this said gentleman, Jato, whose name has been coming up every now and then when there's issues of landguardism coming up, and of course Inoc Holdings, who we understand in the past have been contacted by governments, not even only this government, previous governments as well. Philip, it was great that the military and the police came out swiftly to deny these allegations, because it would have been unthinkable for it to have even happened in the first place, that the very people you've entrusted your safety and your security in are now also procuring the services of other people. So a clear case of, like, who's watching.
Someone say I can't think far.
I mean, so it's great that the military have denied it. Now, what I expect is that Parliament and the Ministry of the Committee of Lands and Natural Resources will not let this end there. Let's take it up and delve into the issues. Yesterday, Honorable Inusa Fuseni, on Face to Face with Sun, he was clear how the state should go about protecting state land. We have a constitution that delves and speaks explicitly on an issue like this. So, I mean, to think that the people who we've entrusted the responsibility of protecting state lands will now be outsourcing this same duty to only God knows who, under what circumstances, and under what collaborations or partnership. It's unthinkable.
Well, let's see how this.
And I expect the lands minister. I mean, he came out to. Yes, he came out to deny the allegations.
Well, it's been denied from the ministry.
But I expect a lot more from him going forward on this particular issue.
Well, let's see how this issue unfolds as we follow keenly from Media House. You're still watching CNR Extra here on City TV. Still to come. 2 injured and hospitalized as land guards clash with wood sellers at Akutia Line in the Ashanti region. Kindly stay with us. We're back with more stories.
St. John's School is 70 years. Hooray! The headmaster, board of governors, the management, staff, PTA, Old Saints, and students are calling on all to join in the celebration of the 70th anniversary. Theme: 70 years of impactful Catholic training on the boy child, the St. John's experience. The celebration is starting from 17th to 23rd July 2023. Program highlight: Monday 17th July, anniversary lecture. Tuesday 18th July, cleaning and tree planting outside the school. Wednesday 19th July, exhibition by students and a memorial service. Thursday 20th July, float through the principal street of Sekendi Takrade. Friday 21st July, games with All Saints. Saturday 22nd July, anniversary Grand Debra. Sunday 23rd July, anniversary Thanksgiving Mass at the school premises. Guest speaker: All Saints 1980 Dr. Charles E. Owuba. Special guest of honor: Dr. Justice Amo, Just More Construction Limited. Chairman: Old Saints 1977 Dr. Kwesi Enyan. St. John's School, the best. St. John's School, preparing the way.
Welcome back. Let's bring you some more stories. And 2 injured and hospitalized as land guards clash with wood sellers at Akutia Line in the Ashanti region.
Now, 2 persons have sustained injuries and have been hospitalized following a clash between alleged land guards and wood sellers at Akutia Line within the Asokore Mampo municipality of the Ashanti region. The alleged land guards reportedly attacked the woodworkers who were resisting attempts by the Asokore Mampo Municipal Assembly to get them to leave their workplace to allow for the construction of shops by the assembly. The following report has the details.
In recent months, authorities at Asokore Mampo municipality have stressed the need for the hundreds of wood sellers at Akutia Line to leave where they operate to pave way for the redevelopment of the enclave. In April 2023, some woodworkers sustained injuries after they clashed with security operatives when they insisted on not leaving the area they work. The Asokore Mampo Municipal Chief Executive Kennedy Kankam, in an earlier interview with City News, stated that after completion, the woodworkers will be allowed to operate in the stores that are being built.
Upon a second thought and discussion and consultation, we decided that don't let us move these people from where they are now to an entirely new place. But we have a lot of spaces at where they are. All what we are trying to do is to rearrange the place so that we will implement the project in phases. So if we finish phase 1, we move the people to go and occupy the shops or the station or the market that will be captured in that phase 1. From there, we move it then to phase 2, Then phase 2 too, after phase 2, then we move the next batch of traders or those who are occupying the place to come and occupy it until we finish the last stage of the project. We are just implementing what they did at the KJTR and the central markets.
So far, construction has started at a part of the enclave. While construction workers were expanding to other areas, some wood workers resisted the move and clashed with land guards who are alleged to have been contracted by the municipal assembly. 2 persons who sustained injuries were rushed to the Mensah District Hospital. During City News' visit to the hospital, the injured persons narrated that the land guards attacked them after they attempted to resist efforts to start the construction at the end and were asked to leave the area. An eyewitness, Awood Muhammad, has been narrating to City News how the incident occurred.
But on Bessie, sorry. First day, I'm going to you're no man, you're not saying you're no man now. Yankashwe. So they say assassin, you're the Inako court and Yan declares Omumbe Stati Jumano. So you're Guson Omukopa Langa Sabas Omumbejana Assassino. Yes, you say Langa say, yes, you are my Omusa Assassino. Yaguso and Ramudi Langas never, yes, you ever see Yampini Omusio. So Omalanga Siba Mukasa na police for back, police for Kasasi, Mau Bian Nato. Kasana said, to your one and Omudi Langas Naba. To Yaba Jina Assassino. Mijina Hona Bakuba Miso, making a money. And I miss Kasana Namu, Muna de say, Muna defending Kasamuni. Don't Mukako move to call Mukazuni, Kanini, Mukazon Kasan. Yaguso and Macho Munina Roche, any Sikai. Yagusu hey and the friend Apala. Okofra by Vandambra, Vandam Beku, Vandam Kutasikai. Toya Johnny Insano. Mr. Apala, open air, so I won't Vandam Murono try. Not minion say inside, and a Vandam is can or trying Muniabakunsa. Yagusu hey and Abakudin Sabo Muniabako. Toya dear, sure say, Aban also no Jina on Jina, no Senebe, because I young enemy Papatao. The
presiding member for the Asukariman Municipal Assembly, Matthew Amisa, who insists the said ongoing construction work has the full backing of the assembly members, has been speaking to City News on the issue.
It is nothing new. I think you've heard it before. The assembly, as part of its, normal work, they have to develop the district. We have a land here which belongs to the state. Although some people are claiming that they've been on it for a very long time, but being or sitting on that land for a very long time doesn't mean it belongs to you. So the assembly is today have decided to put up, shops for people who are squatting, people who are, trading along the street to have, stores to work within. So that is what is going on over here.
Police officers later visited the scene, and the construction work has since been put on hold.
Authorities will have to put measures in place to ensure that this matter does not escalate. For City News, I'm Edward upon Malfo. Akwatia Line.
So that's what is happening at the Akwatia Line, but the Asukariman Municipal Assembly in the Ashanti region has dismissed the claim of hiring land guards to evict traders at Akwatia Line. According to the Municipal Chief Executive, Kennedy Kankam, however, alleges that an individual who tried to bribe the assembly to purchase that said land sent unknown persons to cause the chaos witnessed yesterday. And he went on to say that his outfit has deployed, or the deployment there was not land guards, but that it was the assembly's task force that went to the site to ensure that they reclaim the land for government. And you could, in the interview or in the report, the presiding member noted that this is a land that has been there for a very long time, and the fact that you have been on it for that period of time doesn't mean that it belongs to you, and some development have to be done on it. But I just don't know where the issue of the landguardism is coming in here. You think there's something that maybe they may have to now sit down and joy and find an amicable solution to this problem?
I mean, Philip, you do a simple search of land guards on the City Newsroom website, and it will amaze you the number of stories that get reported on landguardism in this country every now and then. I mean, Kennedy Kakam, former MP for Ishaya, I believe. I mean, it puts into proper context the discussion we had prior to this story about the state itself procuring land guards to...
Well, the state has denied that fact.
As they should, because I can't for the life of me imagine the state saying it's actually a thing they do. Now, from the national level, we hear at the assembly level from people who were brutalized by these people. We understand that the
assembly says that it's tax force, and that an individual who is trying to bribe the assembly to take that land sent those men to do that.
It is just a little too messy. It's just a little too messy. I mean, it's not proper that this is happening, right? And I mean, I get that for some reason you'd want to push back people who are trying to claim land that is originally not theirs. But why do we not see the police in this? That is my number one question. I mean, if you say that the people were misbehaving or vandalizing things, for instance, you have to find a way to stop them. Why do we not see the police in this? And the police themselves, why have they not come out to speak on this particular incident that happened in Akutia?
Maybe because they've not been involved, which we don't know.
Yeah, but
they wouldn't want to jump into this particular situation. Once we hear
that there's been a clash where people have been hospitalized, we've seen the video. I mean, thankfully, it wasn't fatal. But who knows how bad it could have gotten to. So I think the police, in this instance, should address it, especially on the back of the fact that they've come out to publicly deny that they don't procure or engage in the services of land.
Let's see how this story unfolds.
It is just a bit too messy.
Let's see how it. I told you, landguardism at the national level coming to municipal district, community. How are we handling it? But let's see how it turns out and how the entire situation will be addressed.
I believe strongly that the lands ministry should take this thing up very seriously.
Well, let's see how it unfolds, and let's move away from this story. The police in Bimbilla in the Nanumba North municipality of the northern region, they have commenced investigation into an alleged kidnapping case involving a herdsman.
The police at Bimbilla in the Nanumba North municipality of the northern region are currently conducting an investigation into an alleged kidnapping case involving a herdsman. The perpetrators, who are believed to have disguised themselves in police uniforms, remain unidentified. The incident is reported to have taken place in the evening of July 13, 2023, between 9 and 10 p.m. Now, according to the family of the kidnapped man, he was inside his residence with his wife when the suspects forcibly entered the premises and abducted him. The municipal police commander for Nanumba North, Evans Vovo, has been providing more information to City News.
She was trying to allege that there were policemen who came to arrest. But as at now, in my jurisdiction, none of us or Bimbilla police never arrested anybody like that. And even the surrounding, let's say, Willinsey and Mandai, that areas, I'm not sure, things of that nature. So as at now, we don't know if it is true that it's police who came to arrest the husband. If it were to be police by now, they should have contacted any of the relatives. If it were to be kidnapping, for 5 days now, they should have contacted or called somebody demanding a ransom. But as at now, there was no call to suggest that they are actually kidnappers. So we are now in feast. We don't know whether they are kidnappers or whatever. The only information I had so far is they allege the man is a Mala. So that one too, I don't know whether it is true he's a Mala. So we are trying to get into the case and then know what is really happening.
So it's a good step that the police is getting into this particular case to conduct some investigation, find out whether there was some kidnapping or not. Jude.
I mean, it's when issues like this come up, it's always a very sad state, right? But it's great that the police are at the forefront of it, unlike what we saw in Akutia line. this time around the police is actually.
I think it's a different issue.
Actually, of course, I get that, but I'm saying that it's great that we see that the police is leading the charge of this. So hopefully, they are able to get to the root cause of
this particular story. You're still watching CNR Extra here on City TV. Still to come. Ghana Health Service launches 7th National COVID-19 Vaccination Days and aims to immunize 1 million people. And let's stay with us. We'll be back after this break.
Get ready to witness a remarkable fair to showcase the rich diversity, talent, innovation, and mastery of made in Ghana products and services with the This is Ghana Exhibition 2023. City TV and City FM will allow you to immerse yourself in a vibrant showcase of authentic Ghanaian products and services in the biggest trade fair and exhibition for local SMEs, startups, research and manufacturing industries, homegrown businesses, and indigenous corporate bodies Ghana has ever seen. We shall promote, support, and patronize various Ghanaian products, solutions, and services that are redefining the views on indigenous products and their packaging across all sectors. Join us at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly on the 26th and the 27th of August 2023 at 10 a.m. through till 5 p.m. each day. Call us now on 0205-973-973 for inquiries on how to participate. The This is Ghana exhibition is powered by City TV and City FM and proudly sponsored by MTN Momo.
Welcome back. Let's bring you some more stories. And the Ghana Health Service, GHS, has launched 7th National COVID-19 Vaccination Days and is aiming at immunizing 1 million people.
The Ghana Health Service has announced the commencement of its 7th National COVID-19 Vaccination Days starting from tomorrow, July 19, until Sunday, July 23. The objective of this nationwide vaccination exercise is to immunize approximately 1 million individuals aged 18 years and above. Daniel Ojo-Mensah brings you this report read by Nanatufo Boateng.
In a relentless effort to ensure comprehensive vaccination coverage against the COVID-19 pandemic, the Ghana Health Service is launching a 5-day mass vaccination campaign from Wednesday, July 19 to Sunday, July 23. This marks the 7th phase of the initiative aimed at achieving herd immunity among the country's total population of over 30 million people. According to the service, approximately 10 million individuals have received full vaccination, leaving a significant number yet to begin or complete the vaccination process. Speaking at a press briefing to inaugurate the nationwide vaccination campaign, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaje, emphasized that the country is still far from reaching its vaccination target.
This total dose represents about 34.46% of the population. What it means is that almost 70% or a little over 60% of the population are unvaccinated, isn't it? But the vaccine, COVID, even though we are not vaccinating children, COVID can affect children. So we still have a lot to go in ensuring as many people are vaccinated as possible to increase our protection. The country continues to learn from recent new cases and active infections in many countries. As you have heard, including China, we have outbreaks in Philippines recently, Vietnam, the USA, Poland, and Brazil. With continuous new infection, the virus still has the capacity to spread through the population easily and rapidly. And I must add that our last COVID death was in January, and I don't think that is far away. That is not too long ago. And so we had a death in January this year.
Dr. Kumabwaji also firmly dispelled rumors suggesting that the virus is no longer a concern and clarified the World Health Organization WHO's assertion that COVID-19 remains a public health emergency.
Dr. Chair, as you may recall, on the 5th of May 2023, WHO Director General, through the advice of the International Health Regulation Emergency Committee, determined that COVID-19 was now an established and ongoing health issue. And which no longer constitutes a public health emergency of national concern. It didn't say COVID was over. It is now established. The declaration does not mean, as I said, that the COVID-19 pandemic is over. What it means is that under the international health regulation, the management of COVID-19 is taking a different approach. That is integrating COVID-19 into existing health delivery mechanisms. The WHO therefore recommends that countries maintain efforts to increase COVID-19 vaccination coverage for all persons to maintain the gains made in our fight against the disease.
The country representative for the World Health Organization, Dr. Agatha Guracha Guyo, expressed unwavering commitment to supporting Ghana in achieving herd immunity against COVID-19.
The World Health Organization and its sister UN agencies in Ghana will continue to support the government of Ghana for successful national COVID-19 vaccination campaign.
So the question is, have you vaccinated? Yes, that is COVID-19. If you haven't, then you may as well want to go get your vaccines, because this is another opportunity that has been given to us all. 7th National COVID-19 exercise, which is starting today. And what the Director General stated there, some close to 70% of Ghanaians haven't vaccinated.
I mean, going through the story, my mind went back to the very first day we recorded those 2 cases of COVID-19.
We're scared, though.
I quite recall myself in the office when the news broke out, and I had to quickly put it together and package it in a news form and put it on our website. From then, I think March 2020, up until now, we've come a long way in the fight against this virus. I mean, I was even scared to go home when the news broke out that day, because I wasn't sure what exactly was going to happen. And in a lot of ways, right, the whole of the country, we did not clearly have an idea how this was going to turn out. Even though government showed a lot of leadership in the fight against COVID-19, I mean, years on, some problems still remain, in that vaccination hasn't gone the way we would have ordinarily expected in terms of achieving the numbers of people who are supposed to have been vaccinated. But that notwithstanding, I mean, I think what was feared the most really didn't come into play with regards to our scenario, because I mean the story elsewhere in some Western countries was way chaotic.
Which was what story? The death?
As in the death.
Oh no, we recorded some death in this country.
Yeah, but I mean it wasn't as
bad. And now
bad.
the Ghana Health Service director is saying that we shouldn't rule it out. Though
I mean, Philip,
we've had some comments from the World Health Organization. It's still a public health emergency, and we need to go in for the vaccines.
I think the World Health Organization came out to say that it's no longer a global pandemic anymore. So that alone, it's a good step in the first place. But the point I'm making is essentially about how, if you consider the numbers really, especially with the circumstances and our situation, the local context we have here, in that in terms of hygiene, the way our society is, it was feared that we were going to be at the worst receiving end of this virus. I mean, we were going to feel the brunt the most. But some way, somehow, our situation wasn't as bad as compared to other countries where the deaths were running into the hundred of thousands, right? So I think, to an extent, government deserves a pat on its back. But after going through the phase, when you look at how certain things have been managed with regards to even funding, right, and how resources and state monies were used within the process, it doesn't really create that kind of overall good outlook with regards to our management of it. But that notwithstanding, I think the vaccination drive at a point started very intensely. Then we let our guards down a bit. That's what I'm talking about, the GHS, Ghana Health Service. And now we've seen that they are trying to push it up again. It's important, right, that you get yourself vaccinated if you haven't. But I mean, that notwithstanding, it's been a roller coaster.
And the issue of the individuals going in for the vaccine resistance, and also the issue of we having a number of people going in for the vaccines, the attendance, let me put it that way, it's not been encouraging. We believe that this time around it's going to be encouraging, and so the education would also have to go down well to encourage a lot more people to go in for the vaccine.
I mean,
I spoke to a group of people, and you could tell they were taxi drivers, and they were like, you know what, we are not going for this vaccine. And you know this perception that came that after you've taken the vaccine, you put a magnet on your body and it sticks and all that.
So many misconceptions, so many I mean, ill-informed facts being put out there. So, I mean, you can understand that. But I think it's even a more arduous task for the Ghana Health Service now, especially when the World Health Organization have said that it is no longer a pandemic, a global pandemic anymore. But that notwithstanding, it's important that we still, I mean, I think in every situation, right, you could look at the positives. I think the positives in this whole COVID outbreak was that it made us realize that issues of personal hygiene is something that we should take very importantly. So even post the pandemic, I expect that you are still able to keep our hygiene, personal hygiene, very important, right? Wash your hands after, I mean, using the wash.
And the production of vaccines.
And all of that. I mean, so there are certain positives we could take from COVID. And I mean, Philip, I think it's about time that we try to push and make sure that people adhere to some of these protocols.
Rightly so. So this is how we end today's edition of CNR Extra here on CTV. My name is Philip Nilati. I did this with Jude Mensa Duncan. Many thanks for your time and keep watching CCTV.